This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Kevin Tucker and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic!
What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is June 23rd. Yes, it is. June 23rd, 2025. I've been on a little vacation this weekend, so the date and everything is not really been on my mind. But yet, here we are, June 23rd, 2025. Jonathan Osborne here, per usual, joined by my co-host, Kevin Tucker. Kevin Tucker, your Indiana Pacers. Game 7.
Well, I was getting
ready to record this.
Sorry, I was gonna ask you. You said you couldn't be paid to watch this series.
I'm going to watch this game.
The folks that are listening know what happened, but it's about to start. Are you going to watch it?
I'm going to watch the game. It's Game 7 of the NBA Finals. It's just something.
You have to.
Something primal. Like you just have to watch Game 7 of the NBA Finals. And
sure.
I've watched a couple of quarters here and there. Like for me, it hasn't been exactly like appointment television. Let me sit down and watch every single minute of it. But yeah, I mean, you can't help but flip on the NBA Finals, and I've been paying attention. I've been following all the storylines, etc. You could see all of that on Twitter as well anytime during these games. And as we've been listening to like the Desmond Bain trade podcast, people have been sprinkling some finals conversations in those. So yeah, I'm up to speed on everything that's going on, especially the buses, the painted buses ahead of the parade
thing.
Look, is maybe it though?
It is. And maybe by the time, again, there's a good chance as we're listening to this, the Thunder may have won it, and then the whole bus thing gets blown away. That is crazy, though.
It's bulletin board material. It's crazy that it came out ahead of time, but I'm not convinced that this isn't a very common occurrence for teams that are in the finals. Like, if the parade is supposed to be like Tuesday, what are they just supposed to paint 5-7 buses tomorrow? Like, come on now.
Well,
that's like saying, I can't believe they have championship shirts printed out. Like, of course they're ready to go.
I'm sure, like, obviously these teams have the plans for it. Like, they've sent it off to the bus painting companies or whatever. I would be surprised if they have them painted before the end. Like, that would surprise me if that's a normal thing. Because these parades, they're not usually that quick after. They'll be like Thursday or Friday. It's plenty of time to paint a few buses, I'm sure. But yeah, that was surprising. Also surprising, Jonathan, I guess general managers across the NBA just don't believe in weekends. Like, they do whatever they want, whenever they want. Game 7 of the NBA Finals doesn't matter. Let's just trade Kevin Durant. Like, what is going on? Last week it's Father's Day and the Desmond Bain deal happens, which is great for us, but the timing was a little lame. And then now Kevin Durant getting traded on a Sunday, the day of Game 7 of the NBA Finals. It's just a little disrespectful, if you ask me.
For Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, first round pick, and was it 5 second-round picks?
Yeah, the number 10 pick, to be more specific. It's a pretty good pick,
Sure, but for the Phoenix Suns, who are by all means not rebuilding, how much are well, I guess they're probably praying that number 10 pick is going to really pop for them. But
sure.
With all the moves and the way that Houston has been able to like flip assets over the course of the last few years, especially, I'm just not convinced KD is going to be there long term. Like, if things aren't working out with him, like the team isn't doing all that well around the deadline, if they can flip him for like a first or 2 firsts to a contender, which like fitting KD like into your cap space is always really tricky. But I don't know. I definitely think it puts them quite a bit higher than they were last year. Now they're the second seed in the West. But then, losing in, what was it, the second round, like how much further are they really going to be able to make it with KD at the age of 37? Is he able to stay healthy? Still a really talented team, but, like year after year after year, how many more examples do we need of the fact that like the regular season just doesn't really always matter a ton? And just because you were the second team in the West, doesn't necessarily mean, and it was the first round, Game 7 of the Warriors. Yeah. So, does that take them from a first round exit to a Warriors team that probably really wasn't that good? I mean, they lost in 5 to Memphis in round 2. Does that make them Western Conference Finals team all of a sudden? I'm not really convinced of that. So
they lose to Memphis in round 2.
The Warriors lost to the Timberwolves in round 2.
Minnesota. That's right. Not Memphis. Okay, great.
Did I say Memphis?
You did. Yeah, I was like
Desmond Bane on the brain. There we go.
Memphis Timberwolves. No, just kidding. The word on the street is the Rockets aren't done. They're going to make another move, add another splash, so we'll see. But anyway, I just thought it was funny.
I was looking at like all the firsts that they have. It's still pretty crazy.
I just thought it was funny. There's 7 days in a week, and 2 weeks in a row, these GMs pick Sunday to do these deals. What in the world, man? Well, I don't know.
I don't know the specifics of that deal, but if some of this stuff has to happen, before the league calendar, like financial calendar, flips over, I guess there's a rush to get this done. Like, and I guess we'll talk about the KCP pod that he's done now after the trade. His dog talk, and they were talking about like, oh man, you had to make this move on Father's Day. Like, if I'm Jeff Weltman, I'm not letting Memphis's GM like sleep on that, right? Like, hey, it's Father's Day. Let's not make the move today. We'll make it official on Monday. And then he comes back and says, actually, I'm going to need Anthony Black, or actually, we're not trading Desmond Bane. Like, when that deal is available, it doesn't matter if it's 9 a.m. on Christmas morning. You make that trade.
Yeah, but the fact is, like, does that mean that they were talking on Father's Day? Because if so, they're just psychos. Like, what do you just take a day, take a Sunday? Like, if you're having the conversation on Saturday or Friday, pull the trigger then. But if what you're saying is true, which I agree, like if you come to terms with the deal, make it happen. But if that's the case, that means they were talking on Sunday. So I don't know. The whole thing's just weird. But the
but
KCP
then somebody
stuff,
calls, Kleiman and says, hey, like, I don't know if you guys are shopping Bane, but we've got this offer. And then all of a sudden somebody beats you to it. Like, I see from Jeff Weltman's perspective why he would be in such a rush to get a deal like that.
No, done. I get it. But if this is the case, that means they were already having conversations on Father's Day. Like, the two GMs are on the phone on Father's Day working out the deal, and they agree to it. That's what I'm getting at. It's just weird. It's whatever.
Listen, Jeff Weltman can mess up my Father's Day anytime he likes if it's a move like that.
Okay,
all is forgiven in my opinion.
I got you. But back to the KCP thing. Yeah, that was KCP. Like, there was a little bit of clickbait in the headline of his podcast. I don't know if you've seen it. It just made it look like it was.
I watched at least the clip of.
Well, I know. I'm talking about the if you saw the title of his video. It's just like
what really happened.
Yeah, I clicked on it thinking like, oh man, KCP. And you watch it. He's like, no, he gets it. It's a business, and he didn't like that it was on Father's Day, but he's like, I get it. It's not a big deal. But outside of that, there wasn't anything too juicy. I mean, he kind of mentioned, and I'm paraphrasing, basically he hinted at, some teams his style works with and some teams it doesn't, that type of thing. And I'm like, bro, you just had to catch and shoot this year. That's all you had to do. And that is your style. So I don't know. I didn't take too much away from it, and it didn't bother me too much.
Listen, there was a moment when we were doing our guard grade episode where we were talking about Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and I was actually trying to find statistics to paint him in a better light of like, oh, well, he wasn't getting as much, wide open opportunities as he normally was. And it's basically the same, amount and frequency that he got in Denver. Yep. The difference was the percentage of makes was just far lower.
Yep.
So I guess wide open threes doesn't really fit his style of play, I guess. I don't know if that's what he's alluding to, but before we get into some more stuff, I just wanted to remind folks that we are in the middle right now of running a giveaway for this autographed Jonathan Isaac jersey, the Nike Classic Edition from last year's 35th anniversary season. We are giving that away to one of our lucky patrons. So if you're an existing patron, you already have 2 entries into that giveaway automatically. But if you're a new patron, starting from our last episode, if you sign up at our All-Star tier or higher, All-Star, Elite, or Hall of Fame tier, any of those, you will automatically get an entry into that as well. So if you're a fan of the show, fan of the content, you want to support us, and you also want a chance to win this autographed Jonathan Isaac jersey, head on over right now to patreon.com/the6man-show. We are going to be doing a live draft reaction video Wednesday night after the Magic's first round pick or their moves. Do they keep the pick? Maybe they don't keep the pick. Maybe they make a trade. But after whatever move ends up happening with that 25 pick, we're going to go live. So we're going to cut that giveaway off at 8 o'clock on Wednesday when the draft starts. So as long as you enter and join the Patreon at the All-Star tier level or higher by the start of the draft, you'll be in. And then we will announce the winner live during that draft reaction live show that will have simulcast that on YouTube and Twitter as well. So again, enter that, head on over to patreon.com/the6man show.
Yeah, let me just add, Wednesday, it's going to be, like all of our live shows, super interactive, so you guys can get involved in the chat. The other thing I'll mention, I looked up, Jonathan, last year, what time the 25th pick was made by the New York Knicks, approximately 10:50 p.m. Eastern time. So first off, I don't know how they do it, but, some level of respect, and not even respect, disrespect, I guess, has to be given to ESPN for stretching 30 picks over more than 3 hours. Like, it's just insanity, the fact that they find a way to do that. But we'll see if they do it again this year. Last year was the first year they did this, if I remember right, splitting the draft into 2 broadcasts, Wednesday and Thursday. So maybe they'll tighten it up this year and squeeze it all in 3 hours. But last year they couldn't. It took 3.5 hours to do 30 picks. But yeah, 10:50 p.m. But regardless, whether it's 10:50 or earlier, Magic, if they make that pick, once the pick happens, we'll, gather all of our thoughts and things. And maybe, 5-10 minutes after the pick, we'll go live on YouTube and get our reactions, get your reactions in the chat, and then do the giveaway.
In the NFL, it makes sense because there are just so many hundreds of players to pick from. But if they can do picks in, I believe it's 5 minutes, NBA should be able to make picks in 2-3 minutes tops. I don't know why and it's not as if teams have not been talking and negotiating for weeks and, back channels, et cetera. And, having conversations with agents and you name it, we all know that the tampering goes on. Yeah. There's absolutely no reason that it should take that long. I
think what they should do is picks should be 2 minutes each. But every team gets one extension. You get one pick out of your maybe not one, because then you get, I don't know, maybe I'll stick with it. You get one extension, so you can hit the button and it extends to 5 minutes. And if you're working on a deal, it gives you extra time or whatever. Otherwise, every pick should just be 2 minutes. There's no reason to go on and on. But
and maybe it's like the lottery picks are 5 minutes, and then when you get past that,
something like that.
I think in the second round, the timer goes down to 4 minutes or something like that. So I don't know. But yeah, we're going to be sitting there at, 10:48, and then the Magic are going to trade the pick. It's going to be something like that. But anyways, we'll be on YouTube and Twitter or X live after that pick, that move, whatever, breaking it all down. And then we'll also announce the winner of the giveaway there. Kevin, we also got news earlier, I guess the end of the week, that the Magic have announced their preseason home schedule. So the next time that you can watch the Orlando Magic at Kia Center will be October 12th when the Magic take on the Miami Heat in preseason. That game will tip off at 6 o'clock. I'm assuming that's a Sunday. I don't have that in front of me. It is. Yep, that is a Sunday. And then they will finish the preseason schedule at home on Thursday, October 16th versus the New Orleans Pelicans.
Tales old as time. Every year.
Love playing the Pelicans in the preseason here. So yeah, those, it sounds like are going to be, because they said they'll finish the preseason schedule at home. So those will be the 2 final preseason games. So even though we don't get to see them at home and a lot of the road preseason games are not broadcast, might not be able to see those, who knows? We'll, be finding alternate methods, if you catch my drift of trying to find, wink, wink, trying to find those games.
Arg, matey, I get your drift.
Hopefully, both of those games will be broadcast on, what is it now, FanDuel Sports Florida. And usually the last 2 games are kind of like dress rehearsals for the regular season. So we'll see a bit more of Paolo, Banchero, Franz, Wagner, Jalen Suggs, Desmond Bane, et cetera. So looking forward to that. So we can probably assume that the preseason is going to start first week of October, somewhere around there. So we're probably looking.
Yeah, training.
I think
training
you and I have
camp.
Already taken a look at when we have an idea of when media day and training camp.
Yeah, media day is the 29th of September. So 29th of September, 30th is training camp, and so the week of October 6th will be the start of the preseason. So yeah.
looking forward to that. Obviously, the Magic are going to have a new look to them. Kia Center is going to have a new look, with the video boards that we've talked about. It's going to be a new court. Man, October just cannot come soon enough.
Yeah. It's too long away. I think it's like 14 weeks or something like that, which is just sad. But
yeah.
We'll get there eventually.
Well, this is the time of year that Kevin always refers to as silly season, and we're getting a lot of that. There, obviously, before the Desmond Bane trade, there were different rumors the Magic are targeting this guy, they're looking to acquire this guy, etc. Well, Locked On Bulls dropped a bit of trade rumor news earlier in the week. Allegedly, Kevin, the Orlando Magic offered the Chicago Bulls Jonathan Isaac, Cole Anthony, 2 first-round picks, and a pick swap for Kobe White. Obviously, this was prior to the Desmond Bane trade because Cole Anthony is no longer a player for the Magic, and the Magic don't have any first-round picks that they can trade, at least right now, because of the Stepien rule. What are your thoughts on that deal? First of all, had it come to fruition, and how much validity do you give that rumor?
Yeah, I'm going to reverse your questions. I'm going to answer the validity first. There's 2 sides to this, right? Number one is, the classic phrase, the Magic front office doesn't leak. Obviously, they proved it yet again with the Bane thing. However, it takes 2 to tango. So there is a world in which this offer was sent up to Chicago and it leaked from their side. Obviously, it was a Bulls outlet that is quote unquote leaking it. So it could have happened, maybe. As for the deal itself, it's pretty good. Like I would have been happy with it. I think. I'd rather have Desmond Bane, just for the record, than Kobe White. But yeah, it's not a bad deal. Like obviously we've talked about Cole. Obviously just got shipped, and so shipping him out doesn't bother me at all. Jonathan Isaac, a little more significant, but if you get Kobe White in return, I'm okay with it. And the 2 firsts. It's the same conversation with the Bane thing, right? Ideally, our 2 firsts don't mean anything in the next 5 years because the team should be good. So yeah, I think it would be a great trade if it had happened, but I don't think there's a way the Magic will be able to orchestrate a miraculous deal for Kobe White now. But yeah, if it had happened, I think I would have been pretty excited.
Essentially, in my mind, this would have been like a Jonathan Isaac and a first-round pick, essentially like how we talked about the Desmond Bane trade, where it was you're moving a pick, maybe a pick and a half to move off of KCP and Cole, and then like those other picks are really for Desmond Bane. And in this, it was like maybe the pick swap in half of a first-round pick is to move off of Cole, and then JI and the additional first-round pick and a half is for Kobe White. And in this weird universe, I like to think that the first round pick was 25 instead of 16 in this move.
Yeah.
And the reason that I do think it's kind of fair value for Kobe White, but the reason that I could see there being validity to this is because the Bulls are just so infatuated with staying in the middle. Like they would love to be a contender, but they absolutely refuse to bottom out. And I do think that from a personnel perspective, this type of move makes you immediately worse if you're the Bulls in moving Kobe White for J.I. and Cole. And then, what do you do with those first round picks in the future? It really would have hurt me to move on from J.I. But look, at the beginning of the offseason, when we heard Jeff Weltman, speak with Mike Bianchi and speak with the media, that in order to improve the offense, you probably were going to have to sacrifice some defense. And that is kind of the move that a lot of us thought could be possible, either moving off of Jonathan Isaac or moving off of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope in order to bring in someone like an Anthony Simons or like a Kobe White. And again, to me, people will talk about the Desmond Bane trade being an overpay. This trade not happening, in my opinion, makes the Desmond Bane trade look even better. Because what have we said in the past? It's not always about the deals that you do make. It's about the deals that you don't make. And by not making this trade, the way that it's being framed, it sounds like Chicago declined it. It very well could have been like, hey, this is our initial offer, but hey, we're going to want more than this. And then the Magic kind of walked away from the negotiating table. and then found the deal for Bane and said, actually, you know what, this actually lines up much better with what we're trying to do, and really is just a better basketball move in general. So I don't think I would have been heartbroken by the move because you're moving off of J.I. and Cole, but from a basketball perspective, I would have understood it. And again, it was really in line with the type of move that we were all kind of brainstorming and workshopping at the beginning of the offseason. So again, 10 out of 10 times would much rather do the Bane deal that we just did.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, absolutely. Not just the deal, but again, the player that you're getting back. Like I'll take Desmond Bane over Kobe White. And that's not to say Kobe White's not good. He's just way streakier, which has its pros and cons, right? But I feel like Desmond Bane just brings so much more to the table, and consistency and the ability to play on both ends, certainly a better defender than Kobe White. And so, yeah, I think we got the better player and it's the better deal. And so, yeah,
I'm don't totally have to worry about re-signing him. He's under contract long term,
locked in,
all the way around. I definitely think that was the better move for sure.
Yep.
We interrupt this episode to bring you a word from our friends over at Jam Hot Chicken. Jam Hot Chicken is proudly serving the city beautiful, bringing jams, culture, and hot chicken to the heart of Winter Park. Jam Hot Chicken is a Nashville and LA-inspired hot chicken shack locally owned and operated in Winter Park, located at 400 West New England Avenue, Suite 13 in Hannibal Square. Be sure to follow them at Jam Hot Chicken on all social media. Check out jamhotchickenfl.com to access the menu, online ordering, and all things Jam Hot. Now available on Uber Eats for delivery locally. So if you're at your house, don't want to leave, you can get Uber Eats and download that, get Jam Hot Chicken delivered straight to your door. And this summer, they've got the 6-man wrap and the watermelon slushies that are available. So if you're in the area, be sure to stop by. Let our friends over at Jam Hot Chicken, let them know that we sent you. They're huge Orlando Magic fans, diehard fans at that. We appreciate their support. And again, head on over to Jam Hot Chicken.
We also appreciate the support of our patrons. These are the people that financially support the 6-Man Show and everything that we do, whether it's these podcast episodes or the post-game lives after every Orlando Magic game, or the watch parties, or the group nights, and everything in between. They went to patreon.com/the6man show and picked the tier that was right for them. And again, they're financially supporting what we do here at the 6-Man Show. Every episode, we shout out 5 of our Hall of Fame and Elite tier patrons. And today I get to shout out Dead Air, Austin Lampy, Esco Fresco, Maria, and Himlo Van Himro. Again, those are 5 of our Hall of Fame and Elite tier patrons. And we also shout out any brand new patrons that we have in each episode. And today we get to shout out Emil Kaladziv. So let me know if I pronounced that right. And then Fernando Aaron Lopez Santana, Kenneth Adler, Stephen Dunn, and Sam Mitchie. Big shout out for joining our Patreon community. Glad to have you. And if you want to sign up, again, like we talked about, the giveaway happens Wednesday night for our All-Star tier and above for that signed Jonathan Isaac jersey. And so if you want to get in on the action and you want to support what we do, go to patreon.com/the6man show and choose the tier that's right for you. And now let's get back to the episode.
Speaking of the Bane trade, obviously, we've got to see the press conference from Bane. We got to see him sit down with Kendra Douglas, and we got to see him sit down with Tommy Alter on the Young Man in the 3 podcast, talking about leaving Memphis, talking about some other idiotic stuff that Stephen A. Smith decided to talk about on ESPN, which I don't know that we'll necessarily go into here. But hearing him talk even more, about his reaction to the trade to the Magic. One of the biggest things, funny enough, that I took away from this, because you and I sort of alluded to it on the last episode, where, there's a video of Desmond Bane walking into the Magic practice facility. It's like, oh, this is way different than Memphis, et cetera. Picking up the jersey and saying, oh, this is the coldest jersey I'm ever going to wear. And just how giddy he was, in this move, and how, referring to the Memphis practice facility as the dungeon, that there's not a window in the place, and so on and so forth. And how we were kind of hoping that we had a good feeling that he wasn't throwing shots at Memphis, but it didn't really feel very good. Like, if you're a Memphis fan watching some of that stuff, I probably would have been a little annoyed. So it was really nice to see him rave about the city of Memphis, the fans of the Grizzlies, the people that live there in the city, and just go on and on and on about, one, how sad he is to be moving on from there, and how it did feel like they had unfinished business. but it's so evident how much he cared for and still loves that city. So that was really cool to see in that conversation.
Yeah, I was going to say, I just gained more respect for him, from that conversation. But also, like you said, like it can be truly bittersweet. Like the idea of going somewhere new and somewhere that has a really good setup for him and good roster and good organization and good weather and all that kind of stuff, while at the same time being sad to miss the people. Obviously, that he mentioned that's the most important thing. But again, I've got respect for him saying, like, I felt like we had unfinished business. He's like, we had a good team. We made some good runs. Obviously, this past postseason didn't end well for them, dropping the first round, but had a good core, thought that the team could be better than they had been. And so I definitely respect that. I think that's admirable. But at the same time, he's not shying away from being excited about this setup. And he was asked, like, are you excited to be in the Eastern Conference now? And he was like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure both conferences will say they're the tougher conference. And I was like, no, Desmond, I don't think anybody in the East is saying that. I appreciate the being cordial and everything, but no. But yeah, so yeah, I just walked away with more respect. And also, how about the young man in the 3 getting Desmond Bain right off the rip? Like, that's pretty impressive. But yeah, no, I thought it was great. And yeah, I definitely have a lot of respect for him.
Someone who I thought was, I'm trying to think of a good adjective here. Someone that was underutilized when JJ Redick was, running everything over at Young Man in the 3, like when it was basically like the JJ Redick podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy Alter wasn't really ever given a lot to do, and at times it felt like, why is this guy here? Like, to ask 2 or 3 questions a podcast.
Yep.
This is the first Young Man in the 3 that I've listened to in quite a while. I was thoroughly impressed at how much it seems that Tommy Alter has progressed and developed and improved as an interviewer. I thought he really did a great job.
Yeah, I remember back when Old Man in the 3 first came out, I think some of us have even said in group chats, like, JJ, your sidekick is not the best.
Hey, dude, I wasn't about to out our behind the scenes conversations. That's what I was alluding to. But yes, absolutely.
Yeah. But give him credit. Yeah, like you said, it was a great interview, and yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens going forward.
The other big thing, and maybe sometimes there's like retroconning, with certain conversations that happen, but during the presser, Desmond Bain said, I was talking to my agent at the end of the offseason when we were talking about teams that I could be traded to. And he said, Orlando, I promise you, was like towards the top of the list. On Young Man in the 3, he said Orlando was the top team that they circled. So regardless if we were the very top or one of the top, it's just validation about all the things that we've talked about with this team building and how, we're not going to be like a free agency destination necessarily, but if teams are looking to trade guys and if they have their list, just being on the list is a big deal. And a guy of his caliber, the Magic being on the list towards the top or at the top of the list, very much a big deal. And again, just validation for what Jeff Weltman, Jamal Mosley, and the entire organization has been building. Apart from that, I don't really think there were any other new nuggets from that Young Man in the 3 pod that we didn't get with the pressers or anything else that's come out ahead of that. And then I did want to talk again about the KCP trade pod. Again, we kind of talked about that at the beginning of the episode. I kind of feel like we've said all that needs to be said. Like, it was a little bit of a clickbaity title, which totally understand. Like, we're in the content space. Sometimes we don't do crazy things ever, but sometimes okay, if you're trying to pick between 2 titles, which one is going to grab more eyes? But the here's what really happened. I thought he was going to get on there and just flame Jeff Weltman. I committed to this team a year ago, and then after one down year where we were injured, now they want to ship me off. I thought it was going to go that way.
They had me come out and put on the new jersey, and then they shipped me out.
Luckily, there was none of that.
Yeah,
but maybe that would have been fair to a certain extent. We always talk about this, the human element of a guy moving his family across the country, signing for 1 year, and then all of a sudden has a down year. Was it all his fault? No. You probably could assign a decent amount of the blame to him. I would probably say 60 to 70% of the blame just on bad shooting. And then the rest, wasn't really used ideally, probably much due to the injuries. But yeah, to flip a guy a year later, now he's on to another city and talking on that pod, basically it sounds like his family is going to stay in Orlando. Very similar to Joe Ingles a year ago, as well. So it's the tough side of this business, man. Dude's got 5 kids. They're all in school. They're involved in sports. They have friends. And then now him and his family potentially being uprooted when, he was hoping to, it sounds like he was hoping to be here for a little while. So always kind of a wild thing to process.
Yeah, it's tough. I can't imagine it, but it also comes with the business. He said this is not his first rodeo. He's gone through this before, both with trades and free agency. And so, yeah, I think they'll be okay. And honestly, like I said before, I wish the best for him. I hope he has success in Memphis. Hope that team plays well. And, if Cole stays there, goes somewhere else, we'll root for Cole too. But yeah, the move was time. It was time and glad we did it.
Well, that's kind of where I want to go next, is to talk about Cole. So very shortly after the trade, really the only social media that Cole has used a ton over the last couple of seasons has been Instagram. Shortly after the trade, deletes his profile picture, changes his bio from, Orlando Magic guard to Memphis Grizzlies, deletes basically or hides every post on his account, and hasn't really posted anything since. Now, he was spotted at Fanatics Fest over this past weekend and did a pretty cool video. I don't know if you saw it, Kev, with Rockham. Shout out to our friend over at Rockham Socks.
I don't know anything about
Purchased
this.
$1,000 Pokemon card booster pack that I think he said came out in 2000. So this pack was 25 years old. He bought it for $1,000. Another, attendee of Fanatics Fest convinced him to rip it on camera, and he opens it and hits a holographic Gengar valued at $3,000. I believe in a PSA 10. Maybe it's $3,000 raw. I don't know, but it's really a cool video. But I say all that to say this: I do think it's coming. I don't want anyone to mishear what I'm saying. I am a little bit surprised that we haven't gotten the goodbye Orlando or thank you Orlando post. I do still think it's coming, but it's kind of hard to read where he is at this point in response to processing the trade.
I don't think it's coming. I'll just be honest.
Really? Yeah. I would be surprised. Why do you think that?
And we don't know the guy, and maybe I'm just misreading, but we've seen him go from, hey, I'm a starter in this league, and then be disgruntled that he's not a starter. And then, he found his way a little bit, as a guy off the bench, but then past season and a half happened and wasn't playing well. And, I'd like to think he has, a good attitude, and maybe he does. Maybe he does say thank you to the city. I don't know if we'll see a thank you to the front office or thank you to the organization or anything like that. I would guess he's pretty bitter that he's not going to be able to stick around and stick with this core, that he was one of the initial guys, to be a part of this core. I think there's probably some bitterness there that he's not going to be able to see it through to what we hope is success, but we'll see. Maybe he does give out a thank you to the city, but I don't think he'll thank Jeff Weltman for the opportunity in that.
Oh, I'm definitely not expecting any, name drops of Weltman in the post. I would hope that, and I would be understanding really either way. If, he does feel bitter or angry about it, totally understandable. I would hope that it's more sadness that he doesn't really get to see it through and isn't a part of this group of guys anymore, but he's obviously entitled to feel however he feels about it. Yeah, I do think I would be a little bit surprised. I am surprised that we haven't got it at this point. I would be surprised if that doesn't ever come, and that would kind of be unfortunate. I am looking forward to the Grizzlies coming to town next season if he's a part of the Grizzlies, because obviously there will be a tribute for Cole, and just fans to have the opportunity to express that I think will be pretty special. So hopefully all of that kind of works itself out. Last bit of news here. I don't really know how much news it is. It's really just a rumor. There's been kind of a changing of the guard within the Dallas Mavericks, like assistant coaching staff. And there's been rumors that like the New York Knicks have been trying to check in to see the availability of Jason Kidd and if that would be a possibility. And then I know there was an assistant coach that left the team like shortly after the Luka Doncic trade. Obviously, there was some legal trouble with Orlando Magic legend Darrell Armstrong, who's been on the staff there, in Dallas for a really long time.
Yeah.
And there were just some other coaches, hired away from the assistant coaching staff there. And then God Shamgod, through Mark Stein and the Stein line, has been potentially connected to the Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic, it's no secret, could use some more offensive-minded assistant coaches. Kind of looking at, God Shamgod's, and you may have heard the term the Sham God, like the dribble move named after God Shamgod, New York City basketball legend. But from what I've read about his responsibilities with the Dallas Mavericks, it's like player development, and he's also like the dribble guy. Like he is the dribble developer on that team, which the Magic could use. Do not get me wrong. I'm thinking about guys, like Jalen Suggs and, some other guys like potentially tightening up the handle a bit. Definitely could use that. But I'm not seeing a lot of like, offensive schematic, play calling or anything like that, which what I think the Magic need more than player development and more than like dribble, development or handle development at this time. So, like, obviously with Jamal Mosley coming from Dallas, that's a direct connection. I'm sure they have, a lot of, what's the word that I'm looking for here? A lot of, time together and work together for a long time. And I would like to see Shamgod on the staff here, but probably in addition to like going out and getting a more offensive-minded assistant coach on this staff.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know what he brings to the table as an assistant coach.
Exactly.
Who knows? But, it's no secret we've said on this show, we need another offensive mind on the staff. And if Jeff Weltman and company think he's the one to bring that, great. If not, we need to find somebody. Because, I think this team deserves, like, adding Desmond Bane and what other assets we add this offseason. That can only do but so much if the scheme and schematics aren't there. And so, I'd like to see it. And I feel like it's going to happen. I feel like this is the offseason to do it. Bring in another brain, another mind. And, whether it's him or not, I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Kevin, there's been a massive shift for you and I in the pod here around this time of year. This year, specifically, compared to years past, where we've been focusing more on coordinating draft lottery parties, and then we have the first pick in the draft, or we have the 6th and the 10th pick in the draft, or etc., all this kind of stuff. This year a lot of that got disrupted with the Desmond Bane trade, and really I think made the both of us look at the draft a little bit differently. I think we always knew that there was a strong possibility the Magic could trade both or at least one of the picks. That was part of the Desmond Bane trade, and then when that happened, obviously, we've spent a lot of time talking about the Bane trade. And now, given where the Magic are picking in this draft, obviously, with a couple of second-round picks and picking 25 in the first round, it's a little bit different, and it seems like much more of a wide-open draft for the Magic that it has been in recent years. But taking a look, we've had the opportunity to talk with Josh Cohen and talking to, Keandre from Hoop Intellect in the last couple of pods here. Thinking about the way the Magic might be approaching this draft, and it seems like there are, like 3 or 4 different paths that they could go. What are you hoping the Magic achieve on draft night is maybe like the simplest way to ask?
Yeah, we talked about this with Josh Cohen. There's always 2 paths for teams that are drafting. It's best player available at your spot or picking for fit, right? And I feel like for the most part, over the last handful of years, the Orlando Magic have selected best player available in their eyes. Not necessarily, doesn't always necessarily mean they turned out to be the best player available, but in their eyes, they picked the best player available, and just said, "We'll figure it out. Let's get all the talent in here that we can, stockpile talent, and we'll figure it out." I feel like this is the year that changes. I think in part because of where they're picking, number 25, but also the current situation with the roster and money, and you need to fill roster spots with players that fill needs for you. And so I think this is the year they fill a need, which is a little strange, but that's, and look, I could be totally wrong. The Magic could go, oh, there's a Jim sitting there at 25. He's a 6'10" forward, but we're taking just add him to the other ones. I don't know. But that's how I feel. Yeah, exactly. Great defender, but do you feel the same, or how are you feeling?
Yeah, that's, and I think we're going to break down like how we think the Magic can address needs draft night, but that's where I am. Like, you need to be drafting for need, and I think there are enough guys when we talk about what the Magic may need. Like, if they're looking to use that pick, obviously, if they're looking to move the pick and maybe move another player, etc., there are a lot of guys around the league that could fit needs that the Magic have. But if we're specifically looking at it from a draft perspective, they just need to use this pick in a way that should reasonably address needs that they have.
Yeah, that's where I am. And do you want to get into who you think, or who you thinking, or actually, hold on, before we do that, sorry, I said I wanted to talk about this earlier. I am also not convinced that the Magic don't make a trade Wednesday. Correct. And it may not be for the 25th pick. Like, there are still glaring issues with this roster. We talked about it on the last episode. The Magic, over the span of 24 hours, shipped off 4 guards for various reasons. Now, they got Desmond Bane back, but that still leaves you 3 guards fewer than you had a week ago. And so the Magic are going to have to address some of these depth issues, and whether that is dealing, we just talked about Jonathan Isaac, whether it's dealing Jonathan Isaac, for, the salary, but also getting maybe 2 players back, or whether it is for maybe acquiring another draft pick. Who knows? Crazier things have happened to where maybe the Magic have 2 picks in the first round on Wednesday. Who knows? It's very possible, especially because the Magic are looking for cheaper contracts right now. So it's possible they ship off a solid player like a Jonathan Isaac in hopes of getting back another first round pick. I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, this roster is not finalized, and Magic fans need to be prepared for maybe another deal to happen Wednesday, Thursday, or beyond. That's kind of what I'm expecting, maybe on Wednesday at least.
I want to really put you out there. What trade would you ideally? What move on the roster would you make if you're Jeff Weltman and you're making phone calls ahead of the 25th pick because you intend on using the pick, but you're gonna trade someone on the roster or trade something that the Magic already own to improve this roster? Like, what would you be looking to do?
I would, spoiler alert for when we talk about the draft, the 2 needs I want to address are guard play and a big man. And so more than likely what I'm probably going to do is probably going to ship off. I'll just pick a player. I'm probably shipping Goga. I'm going to ship Goga.
Yep.
He's got good value in the league, decent contract. I'm shipping Goga out, and I'm probably getting in return a proven backup guard. And it honestly,
100%.
Doesn't have to be point. Yeah, it doesn't have to be point guard. Could even be a 2 guard. Like, just maybe it's a combo guard. I don't know, but
I don't want. No. This is where we differ. I do not want to hear the words combo guard. I want a guy who I know can help facilitate the offense.
Sure.
100%. Because I'm not at the point yet where I'm totally fine with AB being that guy full time off the bench.
Yep. No. Yeah, I agree. The only thing I'll push back against that, maybe combo guard isn't fair, but I would swap Goga for someone who has a well-defined role. Either, like you said, point guard runs the offense, or I'm also okay with a solid backup shooting, like a true 2 guard, a guy that comes in off the bench and can just get you buckets. Like, I'm okay with that too. And then that's when I'm using my 25th pick for the 3rd string big man, like we're talking about. That's spoiler alert for who I might draft, but that's my answer to your question.
That's exactly my thinking. And I know there are the Goga Batadze truthers out there, and your claims are not 100% baseless when you say, oh, well, look at, Goga and what he's done as a starter. Like in the last couple of years when Wendell has gone out, he's stepped in and like played really well initially and then has fizzled out as the year has gone on. So as a starter, Goga averaged, according to StatMuse here, averaged 99.1 points, 8.4 rebounds, 2.3 assists as a starter, but then again fizzled out as the year went on. Like the first few weeks looks great, and then as time goes on, you don't know what you're getting out of Goga on a night in and night out basis. And that to me is why 2 years in a row when Wendell Carter Jr. has returned to the lineup, he's been able to win the starting job back from Goga Bitadze. Like if Goga Bitadze was the better basketball player in the last 2 years, given off his availability, he has had more than enough time to win and cement himself as the starting center on this team. Now, if you're asking just in a vacuum, like giving contract and all of those, every bit of context and nuance that there is surrounding the bigs, I probably would rather move Wendell Carter Jr. Like given the cap number, I do think that the Magic kind of bought high on Wendell Carter Jr. and his contract I think is going to be difficult to move, and I do think the Magic need to make an improvement at that position. But Goga Bitadze's contract is just the one that is way easier to move right now, and I think you're going to be selling high on Goga Bitadze. I don't think this is an Isaiah Hartenstein situation where this guy, moves to another team and now he's one of the best 10 to 12 centers in the league. Yeah. I think we got that when Indy waived him and we picked him up. He was kind of underperforming in Indy, and we brought him along and said, hey, this guy can be one of the best 25 to 30, centers in the league. He can be a starting center on a not so great team, or maybe in like the perfect ideal fit for him. I just don't think he's going to be the starter on like a contending team, and I don't think he's the best fit for this Magic roster. So I'm approaching this draft really in the same way. Now, all that to say, if the Magic can't make a move to move Goga and bring in like a spark plug bench scorer guy that can help facilitate and run the offense as well, then that really changes the way that I go into this draft. Or if the Magic are going to be looking to move Goga and kind of have some players in mind that they could do that as well. For me, this draft is coming down to 3 prospects. If the Magic decide to go guard, I'm looking at Walter Clayton Jr., I'm looking at Jace Richardson, and if they decide to go big, which I think probably would be my preference, it would be Maxime Reynaud out of Stanford. Listen, stop me if you've heard this before. Big man, European, out of a California school. Not saying he's going to be Nikola Vucevic or anything, but I just really like what he brings to the table. Kev, what are your thoughts? Anywhere else that you would go? If for me, like one of those 3 guys should be there, and I think I would rather take the big, and then it sounds like the Magic are going to be declining the team options, the team options for Mo Vaughn or Caleb Houston. Then if you can go out and you can sign, a veteran, guard who can give you a little bit of scoring, facilitating off the bench, and then draft this big and move Goga for who knows what. Again, there are a few different paths the Magic could walk down around this draft.
It feels like Reynaud's floor is pretty high. Like, you feel like you kind of know what you're going to get from him. I don't think his ceiling is super high, but I do like what he brings, and obviously anyone that can stretch the floor right now, sign me up. I do like that. I think Walter Clayton Jr. is definitely an option. Jace Richardson's an option. A couple names I would throw out there as well. I personally it doesn't answer any of the questions we've asked, but I kind of like Drake Powell, out of North Carolina guy. I kind of like him. I like that. That's an upside swing right there, which I know I just said I don't think the Magic will do, but I think they could. 6'6" could be a guy that we're talking about, guys coming off the bench and providing energy, and scoring's not necessarily his strong suit right now, but maybe someday he's got the frame for it. A guy who intrigues me, and if he went to any other college, I might sit here and say I want him, Danny Wolf. But he went to Michigan. And I'm tired of picking the Wolverines, and especially because the last one burned us. I do like Danny Wolf, though. Outside of that, yeah, I think I'm okay with the guys you mentioned. I don't know that I have any other suggestions. The other thing I'll add, though, I think the Magic are going to keep whoever they drafted 46. That's another thing I think is going to happen. I think they're drafting 46 to keep it. I think they might.
What is it? 46 and 58?
57. 57. Yeah. I think they'll sell 57 for cash. But I think the Magic are going to pick 46 and keep him. And I think they're just taking a straight up shooter. That's what I think.
Want to bring this conversation, just throw out some numbers of some of the guys that we're talking about here if you're not familiar with them. So Maxine Reyno out of Stanford, 20.2 points per game, 10.6 rebounds, 1.7 assists, just under a steal per game, 1.4 blocks per game. So it gives you a little bit of floor spacing, gives you a little bit of rim protection, shot 46.7% from the floor. Don't love that out of a big. Want to see them, closer to 50%, but I do see the potential there. 34.7% from the 3-point line. So showed, a little bit of that ability to, step out and stretch the floor. Nice shooting stroke. Shout out to Cuzzo. Walter Clayton Jr. out of UF. Everybody knows the story behind him. 18.3 points per game, 3.7 rebounds, 4.2 assists, 1.2 steals, 44.8% from the floor, 38.6% from three. You can talk about some of the turnovers. You can talk about some of the shot selection. But even considering that, a guard in the SEC to shoot almost 45% from the floor and 38% from behind the arc, like those are super impressive numbers and relatively high efficiency given the concerns around his shot selection. And then last but not least, Jace Richardson, 12.1 points per game, 3.3 rebounds, 1.9 assists, shot 49% from the floor, 41.2% from three. Absolutely just knockdown shooter. I don't think that's a guy that's going to slip to the second round, but if he is there, around one of those second round picks that the Magic have, if they want to trade, a future, 2 second round picks in the future to move up a few spots to get a guy like that, if he does fall to the second round, I could see the Magic, if you're convinced that they're going to keep that pick, they're going to take a swing on a shooter. I could see, a guy like that might be worthwhile, trading up for, if he falls a little bit further than anticipated given his size.
Yeah, just one other name I wanted to add. Just keep your radar open for Rasheer Fleming out of St. Joe's. Another guy I like. Solve some shooting issues, but he's not a guard or center. He would be more of like a backup 4 for us, but good athlete. Seems like he could end up being a pretty good NBA shooter. So another guy I think we could target. But yeah, the ultimate thing, like when it comes to drafts, Jonathan, that I've learned in these last, especially the last 5 years or so, whatever you think is going to happen in the draft, just throw it out by 8 p.m. Wednesday night. Just go into it with, an open mind, because it's all going to fall apart, especially by 25. You think about how we haven't picked this late in a draft, and I don't know how long. And so think of all the guys are going to, get picked way earlier. Guys are going to fall way back, and just who knows who's available. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm more excited about this than I thought I would be. That's the thing. Like once the 16th pick was traded, I was like, okay, whatever, 25. But as we get closer, I'm like, there's still some good players left at 25. And I think the Magic have the opportunity to pick someone who could be an impactful player at 25. But we'll see on Wednesday.
The last time the Magic earned their way, other than years, obviously they gave up their first round pick, but the last time they earned their way to the 25th pick was 1995. 2008, they took Courtney Lee with the 22nd pick. I don't think we have a pick in 2009. I don't believe we did. No, we did not have a pick in 2009. In 2010, we took Daniel Orton, also known as
Kentucky,
Russell Westbrook Plus.
Yeah, that's right.
Drafted him with the 29th pick in 2010.
Fun fact: I once played a game of Family Feud with Daniel Orton. It's a time for a different a story for a different time, but it's true.
That is the most Kevin Tucker thing of all time. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Wednesday. I'm going into Wednesday with zero expectations. Anything could happen. We could trade the pick between now and then. We could trade the pick up to the pick. We could make trades that don't involve the pick between now and then. And looking forward to breaking it all down on our draft reaction show. That once we are relatively confident the Magic are done in the first round, then we're going to go live on YouTube and X, where we will be announcing the winner of this autographed Jonathan Isaac jersey. Be sure to go to patreon.com/the6man show. Join our Patreon at the all-star level or higher to be entered for a chance to win that. Kev, I think that's going to put a button on this one. Let's go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah.
For Kevin Tucker, this has been Jonathan Osborne. You all have been listening to The Sixth Man Show, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya.
Thanks for listening to The Sixth Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sixth Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!